Welcome to Area Delta. You can see it's a nice open forest area, at least in this section. I usually don't hit this area until late September, but just had a feeling to come out here this weekend and have a little look around. So I camped yesterday and everything was just dead quiet. It's kind of weird. It's like only about 1:40 in the afternoon and the woods are just dead quiet. I mean dead quiet. It's kind of eerie. I've been out here a lot over the years, and I don't think I've ever heard it this quiet in the middle of the afternoon. No birds, no squirrels. Why this place has my attention is because of recent activity over the years that have been reported to me, and a few isolated bits of activity that have happened to me personally. So last year I drove out here and there's a small lake just tucked into the back here. I pulled in and there's this kind of open area where you can park. So I got out and just scanned the lake from a distance and saw that there was a couple people out there in inflatable rafts doing some fishing. But they were close to the shoreline. And they kept pointing. They were talking to each other, but they were kind of pointing up on the cliff. They just kept pointing up at the cliff. So I turned and looked up on the cliffside. I didn't see anything. And I started to kind of walk back to my car, and I heard what I thought was a knock from the cliffside. So I grabbed my thermal out of my car and I just started scanning the hillside. And the two individuals were still kind of occasionally pointing up on the hillside. So I scanned in that general direction, and I had a thermal hit, something large. And so I hit record, and I only got like a few minutes of recording. At that point, 2 fish and game vehicles pulled in. They immediately came in, and I stopped recording at that point, and they both got out of their vehicles and came up to me and asked me basically the typical questions as always. What you doing? How's it going? Asked me if I was doing any fishing. I was like, no, I'm not doing any fishing. I just pulled in here. But those 2 guys down there are fishing. And one of the Border Patrol guys, or not Border Patrol, Fish and Game, looked in that direction and immediately got in his vehicle and drove down there. The other guy, he stayed next to me and asked me if I had seen or experienced anything out of the ordinary. I said no. I had just pulled in maybe 5 minutes before they came in, and I'm not going to tell them I'm out looking for Bigfoot. So I was like, no, I just pulled in here and I haven't been here for very long, haven't experienced anything, haven't seen anything. And he's like, all right. So he goes back and he just sits in his car, and we're basically where I'm parked, so I'm just like, And I noticed that the other agent was down there talking to those guys, and they didn't leave. So I just kind of played it cool and got in my vehicle, opened up my cooler, had a drink, had a snack, and they still stayed there. So I decided, I'm just going to leave and come back later. So I left, and I came back the next day. Nobody was there, and I scanned the area, and I didn't see no heat signature on the hillside or anything, but obviously this is just my speculation, is the fishermen saw something, right? I don't know if they maybe called it in and the Fish and Game came out, but every time I'm out here, Fish and Game shows up. But I don't know if they were called in because of this incident. I'm not sure. I can just speculate. But here's the thermal hit that I got. So was that a Sasquatch in my thermal? I have no idea. If I had more time to record and watch whatever this thing was, I would have definitely have done it. But the Fish and Game, I didn't want to draw a lot of attention to myself, and obviously they were there for some reason. So the stories that have come out of here, it seems like the Fish and Game have always seemed a little, on edge when they come out here. I've been coming out here for years, years. And, I've heard, Fish and Game, I'll always say, oh, it's probably just kids joking around or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But you don't get a lot of traffic through here, especially, teenagers, they had other things to do. I've camped here a lot. I've hiked here a lot. And I don't necessarily see tons of people. I don't see tons of kids. I don't see tons of teenagers. So what's making some of these Fish and Game people so curious about this location and always being called out here? And why do they seem so nervous? Is it Bigfoot? I do a lot of hiking and camping by myself. But I mean, it's always best to have the buddy system. But damn mosquitoes. I really enjoy just being out by myself sometimes. It's very relaxing and peaceful. But when the forest is just dead quiet, except for the mosquitoes, makes you feel kind of small. Man, I am just getting eaten alive here. So while hiking around, I came across this large stick structure that was tucked back in the woods. Now, I made a whole video about this on my other channel, and I'll add a link to that video at the end of this one. Well, I can't tell you that this was made by Bigfoot, but you just don't come across structures like this all the time. You may see those occasional X marks, but I don't know. I mean, I have seen structures made by the military when they're doing their survival training out here, but nothing like this. It's interesting. So here's the setup for tonight. So I'll be sleeping in this tent. I'm going to have my motion sensor lights set up on top of my rig again, just like I did in Sasquatch Alley. So what I'm thinking is, if anything comes in, the lights will come on, light up this general area, and I have my decoy tent set up here. So I have a camera running off a battery pack on a tripod shooting out the window. It'll record all night long. I got my Zoom recorder right there ready to go, also with a battery pack, so that'll record all night long as well. So hopefully, if anything comes in, I'll get it. Well, it's 6:30 in the morning. I had a fairly decent night. It got cold. I want to say when I got up at 5:30 this morning, I think it was about 45 degrees. Bit nippy. Now, I was pretty tired last night, so I was awoken several times to a lot of different noises, but because I was half asleep and half awake, not really sure what I was hearing. I did hear several clear knocks. Most of it was up on the hillside behind me. Now, I was running 3 audio recorders last night, and had one video camera running all night too. So I'm going to have to review all that. Plus, I got 2 game cameras set up in the back of the camp there, where all the sounds are coming from. But as I was laying in bed there early this morning, wide awake, definitely heard at least 3 good solid knocks from the south of my camp here. Fairly close too, but I'm not sure if there was any vocalizations. I mean, when I went to bed, I was dead. I was out. I think something ran through camp, probably just a deer. But now all I'm trying to do is warm up and get some breakfast because I'm hungry. I didn't do a lot of filming yesterday just because I just wanted to get out here and just relax and get a feel for the place. Everything eventually, all day today, or yesterday, the woods were just silent, just dead. And around 8:30 is when the forest started to come alive. Certain bird calls. Seemed like the forest was waking up for the night. So after I get some breakfast, I brought my laptop with me, so I'm going to load up all the audio from the recorders tonight and see if anything's on them, and replace all the SD cards, batteries and stuff like that, and get ready for another night. Now I have another audio recorder on the far side, like way out there up on a hillside. Hopefully that caught something, but it seemed like from what I was experiencing, everything was happening right here around camp. Now, is this a pathway for activity, or was it just because I was here? Now, I'm the only person out here. I've been out here by myself all day yesterday. I only saw one car drive through. Besides that, I'm the only one out here. But the activity that I did here when I was awake were definitely up in the direction of that stick structure I found yesterday. So now I'm just transferring all the audio and video I got on these things and get them on the laptop. This is really handy when you're doing field work, especially if you're going to be in an area for multiple days like I am, when you can actually review your audio or video, thermals, whatever, in real time while you're in the field. It helps out because, let's say you get some activity in a certain area, usually you don't realize that until after you go home and you start analyzing everything. But when you can do it in the field, you can then immediately refocus your attention in those general areas while you're still on site. Looks like there's a bit of a muddy area down there, so I'm going to go down and check it out. These are always great places to look for tracks. Look at that. At first glance, almost looks like there's a track here with some toe impressions. In reality, these are two hoof marks. There's the next set right here. So obviously something else probably made that. And then the deer stepped right in there, giving the impression of some possible toes. Never let your eyes deceive you. It is kind of cool looking though. So when looking for tracks, I think a lot of Bigfooters look for the so-called signs. The size of the track, the toe spread, the step, the classic mid-tarsal break, and the length of stride that the tracks have. And you can't blame them for that, because I believe we've been conditioned to believe in only those details. But in reality, not all tracks are going to show those signs, and most people will probably dismiss the tracks that they do find because they've been conditioned to think a certain way. I've talked with some of the leading researchers in the field, and several of them have told me that those indicators, those classic indicators that are in all the Bigfoot documentaries, you know, the mid-tarsal break, all that kind of stuff, those indicators aren't always present in every track. And I've also learned over the years that certain details have been kept quiet from the public regarding Bigfoot. Now, I'm not trying to spin some kind of conspiracy thing here, but certain things like certain details of tracks, certain details about vocalizations and stuff have been kept private. And their theory behind that is to cut down on all the hoaxing that's going on, which I can understand, but like you, like me, We want to know everything. Every little detail that we pick up through our journey of exploring the woods, our research and stuff like that, it's all like puzzle pieces. And for example, you can choose to only use the center pieces and discard all the outer edge of the puzzle, right? You will have an image, but you won't have the whole picture. If you want to complete that puzzle, every piece has to be laid out on the table and used. Bigfoot research is the same way. All research is the same way. You have to collect all the information you can. And when coming to trying to analyze or find and determine whether a track is actually a Sasquatch track, all techniques must be used. You have to look at every option that's on the table. So coming across that kind of information, knowing that certain details have been left out, and not all Sasquatch tracks are going to show all those classic signs, like for example the mid-tarsal break. Some of the tracks that I've found over the years, a lot of them have been pretty flat-footed. Some of them have showed the mid-tarsal break, but not all of them. Now, I've seen tracks where I have the mid-tarsal break in the track line, and then the next 2-3 tracks there isn't one present. So since tracks won't always show the classic signs, I think a lot of people may overlook a lot of tracks that they come across, because maybe the tracks will be smaller than the average size Bigfoot track. Now when people think Bigfoot tracks, they think 15, 16, 17, 18 inch long tracks, but the average track size that seems to be found throughout the country is between 13 to 15 inches. So that's not out of range of a human being. But the tracks that are like gigantic are pretty rare to find. Now, I have found a 16 inch track before. I found about 8 of them crossing a logging road up near Northport, Washington. And but the majority of the tracks if have been between like 10 to 15 inch tracks, mostly 13 inch tracks. So I guess basically one factor to keep in mind is most of the time we don't ever see what made the tracks. So every variable needs to be seeked out, every question needs to be asked before we claim we have evidence, or before we even toss out any evidence. So I'm back out here in Zone Delta. I got a late start today. Got in right at twilight. Set up camp as fast as I could. Set up 2 game cameras. I have a recorder running. I brought more equipment, but it's just got too late, so I'm going to have to wait until tomorrow to set up the rest of it. But at least I have a recorder going, a couple cameras on my camp, motion lights set up around the perimeter of my camp. So I am camping about, I'd say about 100 yards from where I was camping last time, where those that tree fell down right next to my camp. So I have a view of that camp, but right now I am the only person out here. There was another guy out here. I thought he was going to camp, but he left about an hour ago. So it's just me again. It's getting a little chilly. I got a fire going. It's nice to have a campfire again. The burn ban's been lifted, so we can have campfires again. Now, the temperature for town was supposed to be like 50 degrees tonight, but I think it's going to drop down to at least 40, 35 out here. So it's going to be a bit chilly. I have all my gear packed inside my tent. I'm going to be sleeping in my car because of the temperatures. And when I was out here last time, I didn't share the audio, but I heard my door handle jiggle again, but only on the side of the car where my cooler was inside. And I'm assuming that, let's just hypothetically say that something was watching me the whole day. I kept going to that one door over and over to get into my cooler, get a drink, food, whatever. So something was aware that that was the door where the food was. So I heard the little jiggle, about an hour after. I left a video camera running that night, and there was some eye shine that appeared in the video. And about an hour or so later is when I heard the door handle jiggle on the audio recorder. I didn't hear it when I was in my tent because I was asleep. It's about almost 8 p.m. I think. It's going to be real dark here in a few minutes. So my plan in the morning and throughout the day tomorrow, I'm going to explore around the bodies of water that are nearby here. And there's some tracks down in the mud that I came across last week. If they're still there, I'm going to cast a couple of them. The tracks weren't gigantic. I think the biggest one was maybe 9 inches or so. But the interesting thing was, it was barefoot and it was coming from the direction of the woods. Just one pathway. And the tracks were deep in the mud, a lot deeper than I was sinking in, so I'm gonna backtrack those tracks as best I can, see exactly where they came in from. Yeah, I might turn in here in about an hour or so because I am pretty tired. I worked all day, so I'm kind of beat. I've already had dinner, and I'll stay up for about an hour or so more, maybe two, and just listen, see if anything happens. It doesn't have the feel that it did last time I was here, but I mean that could change later tonight, so I don't know. But one of the reasons I'm going to be sleeping in my car is I want to know if something comes up and tries to jiggle my doorknobs while I'm in the car. So now I'm camping in the exact same spot, or about a couple years ago. I was talking to my camera, and there was a knock behind me. For any kind of tracks, tons of tracks, just tons of animal tracks. So when I was camping out here last time, a couple of the knocks came from this direction, so I decided to camp over here. For one, it's the tree that fell near my tent was a little nerve-wracking, so I decided to camp over on this side where there was no tree fall. But I mean, I don't know what could happen tonight. So last night was pretty peaceful, at least inside my car. I got 12 hours of audio, which means I slept for 12 hours last night. Probably the most sleep I've had in weeks. I average, with my work schedule, I average maybe 5-6 hours a day. So being able to sleep for 12 hours last night was, I feel like $1,000,000. So game plan today is I'm going to go down and cast a couple impressions that I found down the road. Also, I'm planning on leaving a thermal camera on a tripod watching the whole lake once it gets dark. It'll be a nice test to see how many hours I can record on it and how long the battery lasts on it. So that's my plan for tonight. Hopefully I capture something walking around. I don't care what it is. It'd be kind of awesome just to have something on thermal coming down to the lake. So I'm going to go here in about an hour after I have some lunch, and I'm going to hike back. I found where I backtracked the tracks that are down there. They're definitely coming from the tall grass in the direction of the tree line. So I'm going to try my best to try to follow them, see where they came out of, and then I'm just going to hike some more and just explore a little bit. Should be a nice day. The weather should be about 77 today, so it's perfect. So the tracks seem to be pretty in line with each other. Definitely pretty deep. Not real huge though. Not real huge. But there are some definite toe impressions. Alright, it appears they start right here. Which means it came from here somewhere. Definitely right here. They're deep. Get out the sun here. Filled with water. Maybe they could have been using that stick to dig something up. And then they just walked off. So after looking over all the tracks, I chose 3 of the best ones that had the best details still in the tracks, like the toes and the arch and the heel. They showed some really good detailed structure in those impressions, so those are the ones I casted. Okay, I casted this one, and this one. Now you can see tracks aren't very big. It's about it looks like it's a 9-incher. Four inches, about an inch deep. Just over 9 inches. Four inches wide. This one is 2 inches deep. Let's go from toe to toe. 3 feet, 44 inches. That's from right foot to right foot. Almost three feet between tracks. So what I'm doing right now is I'm setting up my thermal camera to record down towards the lake. See if anything walks in tonight. It is almost 6 p.m. So I'm going to turn this sucker on now and just let it run until either memory's full or the battery dies. So, plus it'll give me a good test to see how long the battery lasts and how much I can actually record. I'm using a ATN thermal. I'll go into more detail about the camera later on, but that's what I'm using, and sun's setting quick, so I gotta hurry up. I'm also using a Zoom 1 recorder. I'm going to leave it out here with it and see if anything vocalizes or wood knocks or anything. So, I'm also going to wrap the thermal with this scarf just to protect it from the dew and moisture and stuff like that. So. Recording. So guys, I hate to do this, but I've already surpassed my 45-minute time frame that I wanted for this video. It is hard to cram in 4 months worth of filming into one video, so there's going to be a part 2, and I should have that video out in the next couple weeks or so. But please come back and check it out, because I want you guys to see what I captured on that thermal camera the night I left it out there. It's interesting.